If you have to end a game of League of Legends, end it like that, with some pizzazz, with some panache, keep the viewers on their toes, and Juve's Order have set themselves up to take out a third match and close this thing out. Can they do it, based off what we've seen tonight?
Yeah, what I feel like happened in that game was that actually Jake gave the Order bot lane the wrong starting time today, told them that, hey boys, we're starting at 10 o'clock tonight, so maybe just turn up and start playing League of Legends then, because that's a different Order bot lane than we've seen from the previous two games, and it almost looked, now that they've managed to stabilize and have a very strong laning phase, the game almost looked a little easy if you're an Order fan, right? And they did draft that way. They had that permanent mid lane priority with the Kled pick, constant pressure. The threat, not even having to do anything, right? The threat of him in the river was enough to make Ash Karma pretty much play under tower all game. And if you're drafting Ash Karma to play under tower, then potentially there's other picks or there's more viable options there. So, it was a pretty solid draft, pretty good game plan all around. And you know what I think? One thing, Jake, Pentanet have to actually identify that you guys are flipping. That that Hayri is playing top lane, and you can't get caught off by that anymore because it is really swinging the game.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I mean, obviously, the Azir being able to go top lane is something that probably Pentanet didn't expect, right? So a little bit of a bait and
You're
switch.
muted. Boom.
Oh my goodness. You know what? Stream can hear me, but no one else could. So that's the joke's on you guys. So
My bad.
Stream actually don't know what you guys are talking about right now. Discord was muted. So what I was saying is that's a bait and switch in draft from Order, because you probably don't expect the Azir to go top lane. But so then you feel confident to be able to take the Kassadin, and then all of a sudden you're playing Azir into Urgot, and match up the Biopanther that has 0 games experience on, and Kled into Kassadin, which is quite Kled favored. And I want to talk about a concept, because it's very rare that I get to share a concept that, I believe in straight after a game. But when you play against scaling with an early game composition, you actually want to remove volatility from the game. And what I mean by that is you want the game to constantly be as low a gold value for them as possible. So anytime you trade, like even 2 for 1 kill, they're technically getting more gold than their composition should get. So your goal when you're playing against scaling is to take every dragon, every Rift Herald, knock down all the outer turrets, take all their jungle camps, and actually deny them money. Because at a certain point in the game, Kassadin doesn't care how much gold you have. It's all about how much gold I have, how much experience I've been able to accumulate and get, right? So I think that teams fall into this trap of, hey, when we're playing against a late game scaling team, we need to take every single fight early game. Whereas, I truly believe as, an analyst, the goal should be to reduce the amount of income that the enemy team can take off Summoner's Rift. And you do that by counter-jungling, taking the neutral objectives, and being able to take down turrets. And super impressed with that fact that Order did exactly that this game. They got every single dragon, every single Rift Herald, and they were able to knock down the 3 outer turrets and have a 5,000 gold lead, kind of before the Kassadin was even out of laning phase, which is quite difficult to do, because there is always that temptation of, let's try and fight him. But he's just such good. He's a great champion even early game, and I'm sure people have seen this in solo queue and stuff. If you mess up a fight around a Kassadin, he'll just get 3 kills at level 9, and then he's just scaled from level 11. It's not even the 16 out of 16 meme anymore. It's just the champions online as soon as he gets kind of those 2-item spikes.
Juves, what is the move for PGG here? What are they doing? Because we know that Order are a team that benefit from momentum, so...
I think PGG actually sometimes their own worst enemy in the sense of what they pick and how they draft. It feels a little bit negative going into a game, pretty much saying, and I've been in these games before, right? Sometimes in streams these things happen, but I can almost guarantee that on comms, the whole conversation is, yeah, we can give this. Yeah, we can give that. We'll give this as long as Get Back can go farm topside, it's okay. Mm-hmm. And so your whole game plan and the identity is around how much you can give before you need to fight. And we saw that the Kassadin did get 16 out of 16 and was nearly able to get going, but it was just a little bit too late, because I think Order played very well. They barely threw the game and they took all the objectives like Jake was saying. So for me, I'd just love to see Pentanet draft a little more proactivity. I think draft a stable top laner. Enough with this Kayn kind of, if you will, Urgot even to a certain extent. Let's just get by on what he's made his name on, one of those kind of generic tank top laners or something that he can have a big team fight influence on. And get back something with a little bit of priority. Something where he can kind of trade in the mid lane, control mid lane vision, and get Pabu involved in the game, because at the moment, Pabu's just been a passenger.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. What I was going to mention is there's this term in League of Legends called the bridge. And like Juice was a bridge, Carbon was a bridge, like Spooks was a bridge. And these are like old school jungling terms where like you're responsible from getting your laners from early game to late game. That's your whole job. After that, like you can literally DC and it probably doesn't matter. Pabu is the best bridge jungler in OPL, I think. Like he plays an insane Volibear, insane Lee Sin, insane Set. Like all these champions he's like really known for. And it's just about like he's responsible from level 1 to 9. And he ganks lanes, he does it well, he sacrifices camps for his own thing. Like, if he was playing Lee Sin this game, he wouldn't care if only was living in his jungle, as long as he was killing Swiper mid lane and getting get back rolling. And I feel like Lilia is, like, only style champion. Only is a bad bridge player. He's a good scaling player. And I feel like what Pabu has identified is, hey, I can play scaling against this guy because he's not going to punish me. But the issue with that is like, why play in only's territory? Like, why not try and drag him down to your level? And I think that that's what junglers like Elisa have actually done really well in the OPL when they've played well. And I think Miru is also the other good bridge player in the OPL. They'll just take, like, Olaf, Lee Sin, these kinds of champions, and make your early game a living hell. Yeah. And I think that that's what I was expecting out of Pabu. I mean, you know, there's a set ban in there in draft for a reason. I think his Lee Sin's also really good. So I would expect him to go towards one of those fighter-type champions as opposed to a late-game scaling mage.
Yeah, you also look at most of Pabu's success in the champions when he's been playing. Most of it has actually came on set. And he's actually been down 3 or 4 levels at times against Nidalee players. Actually against Order, right? He played set against Order, was down 3 or 4 levels, but was still having teamfight impacts and was actually just enabling his lanes to get to that bridge, as you say. So I think Pentanet really just need to have a look at what worked for them early on in the split and later towards the end of the split and really just draft towards that because you know, these drafts at the moment don't really feel like it's Pentanet-esque. It is to a certain extent, but they just need to get Pabu on that proactive early game.
It's maybe 2 Pentanet tubes is what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like I love how Pentanet play the map. I've pulled up VODs of them, like actually setting up for objectives and more importantly, sacking objectives in the right way. And I think they're so good at it. But I just think there's a little bit too much Pentanet in these drafts. At a certain point, you do need to be able to fight back with one. You can have a Kassadin or a Lilia in your comp, or an Urgot in your comp, but I don't think you can have Kassadin, Lilia, and Urgot in the same comp and hope to be able to fight any of those objectives early on.
Yep, totally.
Right. Well, PGG are a scrappy team filled with scrappy players, and they are looking to scrap their way back into this. There is potentially still 2 more games that they can do that with, and we'll find out very soon how Game 4 shakes out. Before we do, we are filled with scrappy sponsors. Scrappy sponsors that want to give you all sorts of stuff the entire split. This entire split has been defined by sponsors giving you wonderful prizes, and it continues. You heard earlier about NeoSurf. Now I'm going to tell you about EPOS. EPOS are running their competition again about out-of-this-world gaming moments. We've had out-of-this-world gaming moments in general. We've had out-of-this-world OPL moments, and now it is your most out-of-this-world League of Legends Grand Final moment. It can be any grand final from any League of Legends tournament anywhere in the world. It can be Worlds. It can be the grand final of a you and your mates put on something like a LAN party at home when you're in early 2014. It could be that level of
Juves
grand
has
final.
one of these. Juves, tell the people about your grand final moment.
I was watching.
No, Rift Rivals.
Oh.
Oh, mate, do not give me that.
No, I just watched.
I was watching.
I've just watched a fair few grand finals and definitely have used a fair few. I actually have that headset, and I did watch a grand final in that headset. It was a good headset to watch the grand final in for sure. Yeah, I did play.
I did set him up positively, and he hits me with the "I've watched a few."
I did.
He just absolutely self-immolated.
If you can't laugh at yourself and can't flame yourself, then who can? You know. Twitch chat flames me all the time, dude. I might as well just join in at this point.
Juves,
don't cast yourself in that role.
Went over to the Rift Rivals grand final. Everyone said that Sin should not be there. They wanted Chiefs there.
Actually,
Juves,
no. You've just reminded me. You're the one who said I didn't. I was probably going to be the worst player there. I remember you saying that, actually, on a podcast that was on a pilot, and you said... not quote, but you did say something about along the lines of, I don't know if Juves can cope or deserves to be there. Something along those lines. I remember hearing you say that.
Podcast with Higgins, but it never got aired, Juice, so no one knows what you're talking about. So, but Juice went there, and in the grand final...
Wait. Why did the podcast that never got aired, but you did send it to the person that you trash talk in the podcast? Oh, right, okay.
No, I wasn't on it. I got sent someone, I'm not going to call names out, sent it to me and said, Jake said something about you, so I listened to it.
Wow.
Yeah, I got sent it.
All right, cool. Well, I flamed Juice, but... You know what? I'm never saying anything nice about a co-host ever again. I've tried it 3 times tonight, chat. You've witnessed. It hasn't worked any of the 3 times.
It's true.
So you know what? You didn't deserve to be there. Levi,
Jake, let me just say something.
Destroyed you.
You can say what you want about someone if that's what you believe to be your analysis. Deep down. There's no feelings in analysis, okay?
All right.
That was my analysis.
Yeah. And that's some lovely subtweeting here on the broadcast. Okay. So EPOS want to give you a gaming headset, a GSP 600. All you need to do is go to @OPL on Twitter and reply to the pinned tweet up there with your most out of this world League of Legends Grand Final
This
moment.
is my most out of this world League of Legends Grand Final experience right now. It's happening.
This is it. Winners will be announced live on the OPL, I assume at Grand Finals, because that's only 2 weeks away. There are full terms and conditions on watch.lollysports.com. Juves has, Spawn, you very kindly tried to get Juves to tell his. What would be yours, Spawn?
Out of this world Grand Final moment. Honestly, that was one of the out of the world moments. And I'll explain why it was out of this world in an analytical point of view.
Go.
I thought Sin Gaming were trash.
Nice.
And then they
You're not starting well, let me tell you that much.
And then they go to Rift Rivals, and they ran over teams. Like, you guys genuinely, just like, I never, like, and Jules will attest to this, I never really rated Ryoma, FBI, and Rogue at the start of their career.
Yeah.
So, like, I just didn't expect that much of these kids that were going over there. I thought they'd had, like, kind of a run the way Orders had runs, and as soon as the momentum was over, they were going to get, clapped back into reality. But then they were the only team from most that won in the Grand Finals, and they honestly put on the best show against Levi's team. I can't remember the exact lineup. Gigabyte Marines. I think out of any of the 3 teams there, like Legacy kind of just played run around Summoner's Rift with Bard for 25 minutes and then lost, and then I'm pretty sure Direwolves just got stomped. So yeah. I was like, the out of the world moment was like, I was like, Sin's really individually good. Like, if they learnt to play as a team, this team could like honestly be scary.
And now there's a reason why I always say OS let me down, and it was because the 2 teams that were previously seeded higher than me actually put on the worst performances.
Yeah, correct. And
there you go.
Now all of Juice's team plays NALCS.
And I'm just sitting here telling how I watch Grand Finals. Oh my god, I was the problem.
Dokla,
everyone's in the LCS.
FBI, Ryoma, all over there, having a great time.
This is, what an emotional journey.
We would be a great entourage, though, Juves. Do you know Entourage?
Yeah.
Juves and I are going to join Vicky's entourage when he's like playing like for millions of dollars. We will drive him around. I'll be the turtle of FBI's entourage.
Juves, you took us on a journey from being set up for a celebratory story about your greatness, and then you completely crashed that down and started not only subtweeting people live on the broadcast, but also just immolating relationships around you. And then the sudden moment of realization that, oh, actually, I was the monster. And there was a real period of self-reflection. This is an emotional journey. Oh. This is, as Spawn said, my grand final moment. So let us know yours by going to the Twitter. All right, it's time for game number 4. Can Order close it out now, or a PGG going to drag them into a game 5? Let's find out after this short break and the Macca's Champ Select.
It's game 4, it's match point here, Rusty. Order, they'll find themselves the same picks and bans again. They'll find that Nidalee as well. We asked a question, what would change? And that is a change.
Hey.
The Lilia this time will not be used. A Kha'Zix is the response, and we're going to get to see how Pabu can navigate this one.
I'm glad. This is probably the one thing that I think consistently through all of the analysts, through everyone here, we all agreed that Lilia probably should just change. And it's not that Lilia is a bad champion. Spawn actually highlighted it incredibly well during that post-game analysis. But they finally have something that feels more like a Pabu style and less of an only style jungler, as we see adaptations now across the board.
With that knowledge, they're going to respond now, Order, with their bot lane again. They continue the variations, whilst Predif makes it 4 games from 4 as this Ashe. The question still remains, what will Rogue play? Will he look to go back to what made himself such a feared support player in some aggressive, engaged supports? Will he stick with the Karma? Nope, going to go for the Braum. Going to make life a little bit difficult here if Layla goes for that hook. They've got the ability to turn things around with the Braum passive.
Yeah. They're also going to ban the Azir away first this time. So again, adaptations to be made. They banned Azir in Game 2. They didn't in Game 3, and they probably felt the burn from that one. So coming back into this one, the question is, do they ban Aurelia? Or do they still prioritize that Sion ban? Mundo also going to be taken away here, Skimmy, with a Camille last time that we saw this one. And with all of the changes that we have already in draft and in terms of priority, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Camille still be banned. The Camille-Galio combo actually still works with the Kha'Zix. You don't necessarily need the Camille for it. That's maybe the reason I would even look at a Galio instead, but I respect that they would still choose to go for the Camille.
Yep, and it is going to be removed away, and we'll get to see now what Pentanet will decide to draft to flesh out their composition. You touched on it last game that they were a little bit too reliant, you'd say, on the scaling factor. A lot of those champions needing at least level 11 to really begin to show up. We've had the Kane in the top lane as well, kind of fits into that same mold of 15 minutes before he wants to party. What will Pentanet utilize here today? Will they look to have a fair bit of late game scaling to work with? They're going to have that the Ornn.
All right. We've got the Ornn. We've got the conventional game. I mean, for all rights, this is just a standard game from PGG in regards to their draft. Now, looking at the Order side of the coin, what are they going to go here in terms of top laners? The Kled seemed to be successful, but he knows his matchup this time, so as you please, Swiper. Whatever you would like to play. If you feel like a choker, you can. The Sion wasn't banned. Why not pick in your second most played champion?
Yeah, and with Trundle removed, makes life a little bit easy now for him to dash on in, much like an Ornn wants to charge towards a key target. Sion fulfills the exact same role, a little bit easier to return back to lane or to make a cross-map play if his teleport isn't there, obviously, with his charge.
Probably
It is very
Orianna. Characteristic. Probably Orianna for mid. I mean, you are short on options here. Orianna works the best with the composition you have, and you're also blind picking. So that does make sense. Again, I mentioned LeBlanc last game. It could be an Echo. We have seen Echoes into Orianna. While I prefer to be the Ori, people say that it's decent for Echo. When you've got a Kha'Zix, however, it could be possible. But that's the LeBlanc that I was talking about the last game currently being hovered, and the most likely pick, because it's incredible gank setup for Kha'Zix.
Most certainly is. And that means now they got a very scary mid-jungle duo that could look to really get on through very quickly into this game to try and match the pressure that Order are thrown their way. We've seen that Only's Nidalee has been sublime. It's been fantastic. It's every adjective to compliment the man so far. He's been playing out of his skin, but Sion has been let through the draft for the first time this series. And Swiper, well, he's going to snag that opportunity anytime he can get. What a statement it would be to be the player to play the Sion first, then to be the player to use it to put yourself through to the next round.
And I really like what PGG have drafted for themselves this time. In contrast to the drafts that we've seen from their past games, Praetor has been an incredible Ashe so far in this best of 5 series. I'm happy that they continue to give him the pick, because it does seem to be very successful for him. Looking at Ornn on the top side as well as an adaptation, I just think it's going to be useful. Gives them some scaling options as well in regards to their damage output, and is just a sustainable tank in top lane that has engage, which is something that you want to see from them. And Kha'Zix is probably the most variable pick in there, but if we're going to compare it to what the Lilia did, it's much more about ganking, getting your laners or yourself ahead, of course, through those ganks, and then being able to translate that into further objective control. Also has an insanely good Drake priority, just by being able to use the Q on the isolated Drake itself. And that's a big change, right? The last couple games we've seen, no dragon control at all. This game, it's really possible.
Most certainly is, and a lot of that comes down to the fact that they will have that ability to skirmish far earlier into this game. We touched on the adaptations that Pentanet were going to make. We wondered what they would do coming into this one, and we have been delivered the goods. LeBlanc has not been played, I believe, by Get Back in Split number 2, but it was his most played in Split 1, so he's going to showcase what he can do on it. Whilst I sung his praises for some fantastic Castellan plays across Split 2, his KDA on the Blanc is up there in the 20s as well. So he is a stand-up performer on a lot of these high-impact champions, and he's going to need to tap into some of that magic here because they are facing a match point for Order. They want to bring this one to a game number 5. We'll see if Order can deliver the goods here today.
And you know, by controlling this draft phase in a much more standard style, Order aren't able to play that lane swap duo, who we don't know which lanes they're going to go in, right? You've got an Orianna mid lane. It just goes mid lane. You've got the Scion, who maybe could go mid, but it's too much of a controlled situation. So right now, PGG have at least controlled one variable that was a nuisance, a serial pest for them in this best of 5 in the past couple of games, something the Jews brought up as well. So being able to control that is one step closer to the game state that they would like. Now we look at how they start this game off. Kha'Zix, of course, is not going to be against a Syndra who throws his buff away. So it's a lot easier to clear your camps if you're Barbu. He's going to be able to red start down towards bot lane, which is a lane that he has kill trade in. Ash Braum.
It certainly does. And I mentioned, or Spawn actually mentioned it in our earlier cast today, how really strong the AP junglers are in terms of their ability to clear, keep it on cooldown, especially when that item is complete. It's going to be interesting to see how Parbu navigates this one, given he's going to be the physical jungler. If it is going to sort of return back to the gank-heavy style, or if he is going to try and match the tempo and always be there for a counter gank. Whether or not his attention will be shown towards mid to get back online first, if it will be, as you touched on as well, to make sure that Praetor can find a level of success that continues to merit the need to play Ashe after Ashe.
Looking at scaling options in this game as well, our blue side team here of Order have got that Orianna, Ezreal type of composition. Scion obviously scales equally to the Ornn in certain ways. They'll be looking to team fight, but engage-wise, they're probably the Nautilus working with the Orianna more than anything else. And that's all, you know, a bunch of AoE potential team fighting. Looking at PGG's side, it is a lot more single target damage output, where they'll be trying to play around picks. They could potentially siege from the threat that a Kha'Zix and a LeBlanc have for diving, but it's much less about picking that front-to-back 5v5 team fights that you'll see from a team like Order. So that's where, you know, one of those things where we mentioned what they could do with sieging. At the same time, these objectives that they haven't been fighting for, they will be looking a lot more aggressively for in this game, because that is basically a free avenue to start having those fights.
So if they can find those avenues, because that could be a key to success to equalize this series. Bring us our first best of 5, our first 5th game really in this year's playoffs to conclude 2020. Only right now on that mini-map. He's avoided the wall that Biopemp has planted in the lane. He's got that sweep and knows that nothing's in the Tri-Brush. Swipe's not going to reveal it, but now he is. There's the flash on forward. Biopemp still has his. He goes to the charge, then commits. There's the empowered lead. There's the knock-up, and he just evades it. There will not be a first blood just yet. And Biopanther has been afforded a lifeline.
Yeah, it does force the flash, however, to come out of him, and it's not going to be the unsealed spellbook Ornn in top lane. So teleport to top, he's going to have no summoner spells available for quite some time. Fortunately for Order, they don't get the kill, but you'll still be very happy with that one. Swiper with a massive advantage, particularly through experience. And when you're looking at the state of that top lane wave, I mean, it's for Swiper to do whatever he wants with it. While he does use the flash himself, and that forces the response, the experience lead means he's going to get 6 well before his opponent, as well as the free reset timing skimming to buy whatever he would like in comparison.
And that could be huge in the context of this game, as we've touched on. Scion has the ultimate to run back to lane, to run across the map, to make a play, even when his teleport isn't there. So that could be a big snowballing factor. One that doesn't look like a big deal really at this stage of the game, but could pay off big time.
Only again.
Here is Only. There's a teleport committed to try and make this one a 3v3. There's no path, but he's all the way locked up in top lane. Doesn't change the outcome. Get back teleports in with conviction. And it is worth teleporting for, because he will find first blood.
Yeah, big from Get Back, and that's 2 consecutive games where he's been able to teleport in the bottom lane skirmishes and turn the tides of this game around. If that went the way of Order, you're thinking about what happened in top lane. You translate that down to bottom lane as well, and try as Only might. PGG do show that they have the answer still in this game.
And whilst it is Only being a lot more gank heavy this game around, it is Pentanet rising to the occasion, saying we're not going to let this game fall into the trap, that game 3 set, where we're slow, we're waiting for scaling. No, we want to have instant options, we want to have the ability to control our own fate, not have to sacrifice everything that comes our way. That could be fights, that could be farm, that could be neutral objectives as well. They get the ball rolling. Big little pickup here for Get Back. As he's already got himself a Dark Seal, so that's 2 stacks already for him.
Yeah, now he did use his teleport where Hayri doesn't use it himself. There was no trade, there was no response coming out of him. That does mean he should be able to get a free reset off whenever Hayri would like. Also because he is into the LeBlanc matchup, you would most likely see the Seraph's Embrace build. At the very least, the Archangels as a first item of choice to try and dissipate some of the burst that can come across from a champion like LeBlanc. So at this point, he should just be able to harass, do what he can. You know, 6 to 5 has a slight window of opportunity here for an advantage. Then go back to base, and you would expect to pick up the tier, but it could actually be the lost chapter first, especially if the recall timing is perfect for that. Teleport advantage means that he may well be able to stay around for it.
Certainly could do. Interesting to see what he decides to pick up, what he's allowed to pick up really more than anything. And how the junglers influence those recall timers. Pabu looking to keep this jungle on cooldown right now, finding himself a bit of a lead. He's going to look to try and get that jungle item complete as quickly as can do. A couple of long swords will help him in that mission. It will be interesting to see where he shows up for that first fight. Keep your eyes locked on that minimap right now. It is the Pentanet duo running up through mid-wave. Running up through that river, I should say, and looking to place down some vision. They're going to get a nice little control, not only in their brush, but also one on the pixel brush. That makes it a little bit hard if any rotation or any sort of counterplay that Harry might look to throw their way.
He is currently working with only towards the second spawn of this red buff. They're about to find that it's being done as well at half HP, so they know Pabu's here. If they win the smite fight, it's huge.
And they will. There's the shockwave, but unfortunately for them, Pabu had already leaped away. Doesn't need to use that flash, but only most certainly does. Pops the hill, jumps to the Cougar, and is forced to run to those brushes to find that movement speed. He so desperately needs it. Get Back using the dash, using the clones, and somehow does not get hit by that spear. No kill found here today, except for Panther, who's the only casualty of war.
Yeah, and just being able to control the wave in mid lane does enable only to look for those fights, but only himself wins the smite fight, gets level 6 from it as well, keeps Pabu down in experience. And this is exactly what we've been speaking about from previous games. You give the advantage to your jungler through having priority in your solo lane, and look at the result, you know? Only goes forwards, team protects him, good punish, taking down that red buff and keeping Pabu behind.
Keep him behind and ensure that Swiper now not only receives the merit in the top wave, but also gets himself a kill as well. That'll help him in his goal to become as beefy as can be. Make him an absolute nuisance for the Kazakhs and even Kratos really to try and get through as to how that will change his build or how it's to play to compensate that. Doesn't have a cleanse, has the heal, so needs much mobility and freedom to perform in this game, because he's got a ton of threats ready to pounce upon him.
Ash just about to tick level 6 as you see. So the threat starts to increase in this bottom lane as Rare just wants to be a bit of a rude boy. Kill threat definitely exists in bottom lane if Pabu is nearby. Especially this early into the game when Rare has the tier for himself. No real speaking towards survivability down in the Northwest Ezreal lane either. So as this poke comes out, you know, as Ash gets levels, the volley cooldown goes down. Ezreal starts to suffer just a little bit more.
And whilst the previous game was very much about acquiring as many early objectives as possible, making sure we had a soul to play for around the 24-minute mark, both teams, that's not their focus right now. It's all about individual CS advantages. It's all about looking to put individuals behind, putting pressure in all the right places and acquiring the XP leads that merit it. 9 minutes in, no Dragon, no Heralds. No real keen aptitude towards it. That'll be Praetor looking to show on up, and show up he does. He takes out Rare, he finds the kill. It's actually Rogue that picks it up. He flashes forward, he hits the Ignite, and he secures the kill. And it's a kill they so desperately need, because as soon as this bot lane is online, you just feel that Pentanet had it.
I feel like every time we talk about something, it happens, Skibby. We're having one of those games. From draft to playstyle, we talk about the potential kill threat bot lane. Praetor demonstrates once again that he is in control of this 2v2. But it's Rogue as well, of course, working with him. We can compliment Praetor to no end, but it's a 2v2.
Yeah.
And Rogue is the one that puts in work. Pabu has just thrown an ult in mid lane, as only forces his flash as well.
Yeah, very scared by that one. Pouncing across there, hits the spear, hits the leap. Now look to try and sneak away a few of these minions. No, Get Back is there for the protection.
Hayri shockwaved as well, so a lot of stuff was used. Drake now currently up and available, and Rare finally with a relevant item with that pickaxe. I'm going to say it was the pickaxe, which is why he actually picked up that Scuttle Crab, so shout out for that one. But that'll be another objective going their way.
Certainly will be. Bandit Dragon to kick this one off. See what kind of soul point we're playing for. Herald ready to deploy as well. Be interesting to note where Only wants to further the lead. He's put a bit of attention towards top lane, made Swiper's life a bit easier. I believe he wants to use it in the bot lane to try and stabilize things and prevent Praetor getting as far ahead as he has shown already on this Ashe.
Top lane be pretty casual overall besides the jungle presence up there early. Jungle we've already spoken about, pretty much going even regardless, but it feels like a lot more pressure going the way of Only, where Pabu is trying to force and make plays against the grain. Bot lane still going the way of PGG, so this game state has been pretty reminiscent of the rest of this best of 5. And the question we have to bring up with all of that in mind is what will they do to break that trend? Because it does seem like if the game continues at this steady state, that Order have proven themselves to be far too dangerous with this mid-game team fighting and starting to build themselves leads from just this slow style of gameplay. But this is the thing that PGG kind of play live. Dash arrow, here we go again.
You can be as slow as you like, or you can be as rapid as you want to make things happen right now. As Praetor's going to flash on forward, sidestep out the True Shot Barrage, commit with the heal, and have just enough movement speed and mobility to not be counter-engaged upon. That was Rogue flashing forward, or that was Rogue dashing forward, I should say, utilizing the Glacial Fissure, finding a key target. Unable to secure the kill, and that's going to be a nice little option for Order to play around. So don't have to worry about this Ezreal falling behind.
Jungle pressure here as well. Pabu definitely going to be suffering as a result. Still, PGG with the advantages in bottom lane hasn't netted them any major CS leads, just the looks at kills. We'll see what they do to respond to this one, because the charge will go off no matter what. Swiper also hit a threat.
As I mentioned, that's a big reason why they summoned it mid. Got a numbers advantage, they're going to commit on through. They're not looking for the turret takedown, but they are looking for a lot of gold to go their way. That'll be shared across 3. Harder in the area and forced to pop that ultimate very defensively there, just to make sure he's not an easy target for the taking.
No Drake contest, no Herald contest just yet. And this is something we have seen from PGG a lot. The Kassadin style gameplay, of course. LeBlanc's a different style of champion to that Kassadin. You're not counting the levels, but you are looking at items. They lost Chapter and Sorkshu is actually a decent point of power for a LeBlanc, to be honest. A level 11, not all that necessary. I would say, in fact, being level 10 to Hayri's level 10 is perhaps a point of power. But you can't play League of Legends if your jungler just cannot exist. And if you picked for a strong 2v2 and you haven't been able to use it once, then I would say you're kind of failing so far in what's required of your draft to be successful. That's not to say that's their only win condition, but that's definitely something that is strong for them that has been completely thwarted by Order.
And that is what is a little bit baffling, right? They've gone for the adaptation here, not going to pick their Lilia this time. They're going to say, no, we want to be very aggressive. We want to play some very good skirmishes in the early game. We've both got Electrocute. We definitely have the damage capabilities. We just haven't had the ability to find those moments. You've seen Only on cooldown, showing his face mid, keeping tracks as to where this Kha'Zix is, and forcing him to use that ultimate just to run away more than anything. And the vision continues to be controlled here. Not only do they plant it, but they cancel out as well, and they're going to look to now steal away a blue buff.
And they'll get that one uncontested, just constantly in the enemy jungle, constantly keeping Pabu down, really showing their hand here, Order, as to how they're going to win this game. It is still methodical, it is still calm and controlled, it becomes vision into objectives. But that gold stacks up, and we've spoken about this. You know, maybe it's only 20 CS difference between junglers. 20 jungle CS is huge in terms of gold income, and it's in Nidalee. So she goes back to her own jungle and actually speed runs the clear. That adds up. Pabu then falls behind, or Only just gets ahead. And then we've seen what he's able to do in team fights with this Nidalee. Gets the Rod of Ages as fast as he can if he wants to snowball himself. Scale up into those team fights, and has legitimately carried by himself.
It certainly has. And whilst we talk about his itemization, what's interesting for me is Rare's gone for the Tabbies himself. Wants to be as tanky as can be. We're going to see the Iceborne Gauntlet perhaps into their stance, makes himself a second bruiser, but obviously with a ton of dashes at his disposal. Not going to be a very easy picking for the likes of a Ashe or a Kha'Zix to execute upon. That's going to be Pablo put out of position, instantly taken out! Command attack, unleash the power! They take him on through, now Getback's in trouble, he pops the clone and he pops his health bar down. That's 2 kills as clean as they come. And at fantastic timing as well, because there's another dragon spawning. And Order are in the area.
I'll be honest with you, I feel like I've seen this before from Order. They get the fights, it constantly happens around the Drake. They'll get the Drake as well. They'll get the first turret of the game, and it's in mid lane, which is very much a rarity to see, because that is usually the last turret to go down. Now you do have the potential of a Herald straight after this in a reset also, and Ezreal has been freely farming in bottom lane because there's no punish. This Kha'Zix hasn't been able to do anything so far in this game, and has only been punished anytime he looks to make those plays.
Sure, teams now watching. We've seen a fair few picks, utilised a fantastic effect so far in this opening night of the playoffs. One thing I'd be a little bit terrified of is this Nidalee. It continues to show up undefeated. It's a scary proposition. Something I wonder how the teams respond to it. So will find themselves now a 3k gold lead. 2 dragons to the name. They're finding themselves so much momentum, so much tempo. It feels like they're getting into their opponent's heads.
Babu about to discover 2 people that are way too strong for him to contest with. He's going to walk that one out, but he's got Rogue and Praedyth on the top side of the map. They have flipped, so it does seem like their priority is at the Herald.
Forge Gold, but that's the dredge line buff, and there's a stopwatch negating the arrow. Not going to be caught out just yet, but it doesn't have a stone plate, and he doesn't have any survivability. That's a 4-man shockwave! A double kill by Nidalee. Give him a triple, give him an all. There's the true shot barrage, but they just managed to evade that one. If you think you've taken out Ayla, you just watched a 4-man knock up, and there's the shockwave to execute upon it. Give us the gold, give us everything, say Order.
Oh, wrap it up, put a bow on it. Order's team fighting is just far too strong right now. Swiper hits a 4-man knockup straight into a shockwave. Swiper then flashes the wall and ults them all himself. Ridiculous combo from Order. And super out of the blue as well. It was after an Ashe throws an arrow, after PGG are looking at them. I mean, that's just incredible coming out of Order.
And it's crazy because they put so much into Ayla. He soaks up all the damage. Yes, he doesn't have a stone plate, but quite honestly, the stopwatch is just enough to ensure that Pentanet had nothing left. They surrounded him. They wanted to get that kill, but they made it so damn easy for the setup that Order had.
Give us a replay. I want to see it
execute
again.
Upon it. I want to see that replay. It was montage worthy.
Need to be careful up here in top lane though. Hunting. Seeing what they can find. Of course, the Ezreal has found some spikes in tower. Now the Manamune is there. He'd be a couple of minutes away at most, you would expect, from the Muramasa. Especially because he went straight for the tier. We'll see how soon that one comes across. I guess we're just going to be left waiting. No replay, I'm sad.
No, unfortunately for us, we'll just have to keep that one locked in our minds as to what it was and what it could mean here for Order. They want to rest this series. They want to finish it right here. They don't want us to go the full distance. No, they want to wrap it up. They want to make it a 3-1. They want to get a good night's rest and focus on tomorrow. But the Pentanet, they don't want to let this game get out of control just yet. They've kept it close. But they've been unable to find the impact. We're going to get the replay. Our answers or our prayers are here.
And Ayla is the one who gets caught out of position, buffers the hook, stopwatches the Ashold and the LeBlanc. And look at Swiper first. He's the one who sets this up. Hayri makes sure it's secured and then Swiper with the ultimate afterwards, while only obviously very confidently going forward doing damage. I mean, that's just a pretty picture to paint. How good are Order with team fighting?
What's crazy to me is how only a few members fell on down. I was expecting the big Quadra, the big Pentakill to show up on my screen there. Pentanet, they're going to be no doubt relieved that there were a lot more casualties lost in that one. As you touched on, where was that evolution going to take place? Well, actually, it's going to be both Rare and Harry hitting at the exact same time. Both have going to commit his ultimate to trim that wave, but it looks like that tier 1's going to fall down all the same, as he is forced to disengage away because Order, they have numbers in the area.
Fabu then presses Q onto Ayla to see how much damage he's currently dealing, and the answer is not a lot. Looking at the bottom side of the map as well, Swiper with absolute confidence sitting in a 1v2. He is able to deal with those minion waves and clear them. And this is worst case scenario for the side of PGG. If they're not able to defend this turret, or at least look to contest for it, things will go from bad to worse. So they do save the turret at the very least, which is a big deal.
It's a big deal because we've seen what happens when Order get themselves a huge structural lead. Even when the gold isn't necessarily ballooned in their favor, it just means they have so much map control, and they've been so impeccable when it's come to vision, determining what they're able to do on the map, catching out key targets and preventing the easy angles for an Ashe to execute upon. Big lead found here by Nidley once again. It's a similar story, 0 deaths, 4 only. He's got himself that Rod of Ages, as you highlighted. He wants to snowball, he has snowballed. Game on here for Pabu. Can he make a miracle happen? Can he maybe do a smite steal?
They're looking at get back on the flank. Maybe wants to chunk out Rare if he can. Do some damage, inflict some pain onto them before the team fight starts. You do not want to take the front to back 5v5 engage. You are just giving opportunities for Order then to be able to win that one. Order will start off the objective. I think that's the correct decision from them here as well. Bring the fight to PGG by making them want this objective. Scion Ultimate probably going to be what starts this off.
Position right now of Kensington. They've got 2 movers waiting on the wing, waiting for that key target to try and find right now. To Praetor finds one. He hits the ultimate onto Red, flashes forward aggressively now, going for the 1v1. That's Rose Desh gone in. Ridge is 1v1s him. It is outplays him. He's far too tanky. There's the shockwave again. They just run it back time after time. You run into a choke spot and the shockwave explodes you. Penton outplayed. Predator 40 found an opportunity. He gets punished. Too much armor, too much damage, and too many dragons.
And unfortunately, Skibby, we find ourselves in this situation where if this was a scrim, you would say that's the fight to try and keep us in this game, or all hope is lost. And unfortunately for PGG, that was the fight they lost. Rare does get the little skirmish, survives for as long as he can. Swiper comes in to save him. Order at 22 minutes and 40 seconds are going to have a crack at this Baron, and they should be able to get it for free. They may even get the bonus gold of a Bio Panther if he's not careful. The team's coming.
22 minutes, it seems to be the magical number here for Order. That's when the Baron is up there for the taking. Too common. Do you see the Baron picked up so close to only having just spawned? Order continue to be the ones in sole control really here of every objective that comes up.
And what can you say here if you're PGG? What can you do to come back into this game? It seems like it's just not possible. They'll have to try their best. Again, their composition is very pick focused. So if they're ever fighting at objectives, they're exposing themselves to the risk of losing to Order's composition. This simplistic game style and draft from Order makes sense. Their team fighting has been fantastic. Their execution has been wonderful as well. Why wouldn't you continue to do what works? PGG are the ones throwing the spanner in the proverbial works here when it comes to draft, because they can't play that style. I think it's been proven already at this point that Order are better than them at it and have won the games where they've tried. So they went for pick, but it hasn't worked this game at all.
It certainly hasn't. And the gold lead now is starting to get scarier and scarier. Just like that, 2 turrets fall on down, and that means that the gold lead favors Order at 24-minute mark by 10,000. The Baron Bath giving them the combat advantage to try and end this game. That's going to be the shockwave used in mid lane. Predator shot down to half now. There's the ultimate, locked up in place. CC for days, unable to play the game, unable to try and force some impact on towards this matchup. Hayri forced to use that zone, he was protected by what was coming his way. His get back just does not have the damage to try and delete somebody in an instant. Nobody's going to fall on down just yet. They're all going to survive. They're all going to be healthy. They're all looking to take down their first inhibitor.
They've caught the LeBlanc. They are looking for the fight again.
LeBlanc is zoned on out, has no flash. That's a knock-up. Pepper trying to do whatever he can to prevent this from falling on down, but now he's bitten off more than he can do. He's actually going to be the first one that falls on down. That's going to be the swipe on through. That's going to be the path to connect. And that just might be Order looking to end the game like that. They're not messing around. That's the first Nexus turret that crumbles. Their second one's in their side. Order thinking, hang on a minute, don't get too overzealous. Don't be too excited. Hensnet have very short respawn time as well. Biopaper's down for 25 seconds. Can they hold 4v5? No, they can't. Then Nedley played every single game, continues to fight, continues to kill, continues to execute. There's a double kill. Rare takes them out, and that'll be Order on the night, finishing 3-1.
And Order have put themselves into a best of 5 against Legacy. They've earned the right to take on the Split 1 OPL champions here in the second split with a clean showing from them overall. It started shaky, but that last game is just proof that Order mean business in this playoffs, and they can definitely take it to a team like Legacy. A lot to learn from that game though, and Legacy have had the chance to watch, but Order should be celebrating on the day because that was a well-earned win.
It certainly was. They look very cool, calm and collected in that little post-match snippet there. You can see that they're feeling good about themselves. On the night, we've had 2 quarterfinals, and they've both gone the same way here, Rusty. Both games have favoured a team to go 3-1. It's been a night of a lot of fun, really, to say the least. That'll be the upper brackets. There will be a lifeline afforded here to Pentanet.gg. They'll be able to do battle with the Chiefs. But it all now turns on to tomorrow. What does the Legacy Order rematch look like? And we're going to have to wait and find out to see how things look into this one.
Most definitely the case, but still, Order on the day with some big performances. And if there's one takeaway for me, Skimmy, it's that you probably don't want to give only Nidalee.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's a pretty big deal, isn't it?
I think it is indeed. And I think, if I'm Spawn right now, I'm feeling pretty relieved with how that game worked.
Potentially. I mean, when you have a look at it, that was a much... I think that, like, the series got better and better for Order as it went on, and I think by Game 4, they were actually playing good League of Legends. There were still some hiccups, like there was still 2v2 kill bottom lane that probably shouldn't have happened, and a little bit of messiness in some of the fights, but I think that really they went from objective to objective, bounced around someone as Zwift, and that was probably the best game of League of Legends I've ever seen Harry play, and for me, Harry was definitely the player of the series. I know only on Nidalee is very special to watch, and Tubes and I were saying that hopefully it translates to a couple of other champions, because we don't think we're going to see it let through the pick ban anymore, but I think that Harry on the Orianna and the Aurelia kind of saved the series for Order, to be honest, at some points.
Yeah, that's by far the best series that I've seen Harry play, and it's actually quite good to see that because he is still a very young player, and I know sometimes it's easy to see players as veterans when you just see their name week after week, but he was still growing into his role in the team, and he's maturing each week, and for me that was a standout performance, and very reminiscent of a Swiffer performance, being able to step up in a big game like that and really just put the team on his back. And I just wanted to say one thing that's not game related, but for me personally, there's nothing more satisfying than seeing Swiper just get out of his chair in a real macho man way and just having those Ugg boots real snug on his feet and just giving the team a hug. He's got either the moccasins or the Ugg boots out, and I was just looking at him like that just looked like home. I wanted to be there, giving him the hug too. He just looked so warm.
He's a comfy boy in those shoes. I mean, the playing from home thing, we have seen some real insights into team houses when they win, and it mainly seems revolved around footwear. We've got Tim in the sandals at the end of the last split. We've got, obviously, Swiper here. Well, another one, Rusty?
Seal needs to wear some pants. The man's got some fluoro shorts on.
Isn't it cold?
Yeah. I feel like it's cold enough. Like, they have to have heaters in that house, but come on, man.
Also, there's a camera in the room. Yeah. Come on. You knew what was going to happen. So obviously, we're seeing PGG head on to face up against the Chiefs. Rusty, how do we feel about PGG's chances against the Chiefs, who looked pretty dominant today against Direwolves?
I actually think this is, like, tomorrow's game's kind of the same as today, right? Like, if they're able to put up a good showing and stop any early aggression, then PGG do seem like they've got the ability to take it to them. But Order and Chiefs play in a similar way, in that, like, if they are able to get early leads, no one stops them. So, based off today, you'd probably be favouring the Chiefs.
I think that game's next week, isn't it?
Yeah, it is next week. Tomorrow is Order versus Legacy.
I was just
Order
got a little bit confused at the start of it. But yeah, I actually agree with Rusty, but I think the difference is, and like, I know people say don't buy into this crap, and to a certain extent, like, I want to be like everyone else, and I want to say, you just assess the game and you analyze it with your eyes, and then you say, okay, like, this team should be able to do this. But at a certain point, like, records matter. And Pentanet handedly dealt with the Chiefs in a couple of games. And I think that Pabu, in particular, who we've talked about all day being really crucial to Pentanet, has actually an easier time against Croc than he has against Only for some reason. And maybe it's because Croc plays a little bit more of the fighters. Maybe now that Croc's on the Karthus and the likes of that, it will be similar to what we saw today. But I actually thought that Pabu beat Croc in the first 2 games that they played against the Chiefs, and I'm hoping that we see aggressive Pabu come back, because I actually wish Jackson good luck before this game. I think that he's one of the great success stories of this year's OPL, and I want to see him, like, if he goes out, like, I want to at least see him go swinging, going out, like, haymakers, insect kicks, and stuff like that. Like, a couple more Kha'Zix games and less of the other stuff that we saw today, at least in my opinion. I'm sure there's a great reason why Western Bay had him on Lilia, but, you know, as an outsider looking in, I really do feel like he is so much better on those AD Bruiser champions.
And Juves, you said after the last game, the one before the last one, that Order turned up then, that they got the start time wrong and that they ended up appearing halfway through the series.
It wasn't specifically Order, okay? Now...
the bot lane,
yes.
True.
So I think Order, 3 players of Order were playing pretty well throughout the whole series, even in the game that they lost. I think that, you know, it took Rare and Ayla a little bit to get going, and they can't afford to start a series like that against Legacy the way that they played, you know, most of their laning phase. If you start like that against Isles and Rays, I think your tower's gone at 10 minutes, and before you know it, it's flipped, and you press tab, and the game's really over. I think they were fortunate enough to get these cobwebs out because playoffs is kind of a step up, a pace. You know, it's a different pace. It feels different, right? And so, you know, maybe they were lucky to get this tune-up game, but you can't afford to have this happen against Legacy because they will just take that lead that you give them, even if it's less of a lead that, you know, Pentanet were able to get, and they'll run away with it.
And Spawn, are Legacy ready to punish as well? Obviously, they normally would have been playing today, but they only would have played 1 game. Order have played 4 before heading into them. Are they ready to capitalize, or do you feel like there will be some cobwebs from Legacy? Because we have seen just some small cracks in the armor over the course of the split.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be an interesting series. So I think that they'll play Tally. This is just like what my gut feel is, obviously. I think Tally matches up really well versus Harry, because Harry is a player that loves to win lane, and Juves has actually made comments about this. Like, he plays aggressively, he plays in your face, and Tally is the most frustrating player in the world to play against if you want to win your lane, because he doesn't care what happens in the laning phase. He'll leave lane if it's better off for him than actually stick around. So I think that's a great stylistic matchup for Legacy. And as Juve said, Raze is hands down the best AD carry in the league at the moment. And I think that, yeah, if you give Raze a 20 CS league, you'll lose a game off it. Like, the guy's actually brilliant. So I think that Legacy are probably ready for Order. I think they would watch today and probably think, you know what, we'll beat them pretty convincingly. And I think Order will look at that games today and they will say, we need to play better against Legacy than we did against Pentanet if we want to have a fighter's chance in this one.
All right, well, let's take a dive over to Melbourne. I don't know what that was. The word just fell out of my head. We don't dive over to Melbourne. Let's just cross to Melbourne so that we can talk to Swiper himself, fresh off the victory with Order. Swiper, buddy, how are you feeling right now?
Hey, Nick boy. Good to see you, mate. I'm doing pretty well.
You too, buddy.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I'm happy that we took the win. Had definitely a slow start, but a win's a win, and I think the boys are going to be decently happy with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you gave every Order a bit of a heart attack for the first couple of games there. Was it a matter of just settling into this and the best of 5 and shaking off some nerves and that sort of thing? What is happening behind you? No.
I don't know what to tell you.
I don't approve of this. Control your children.
Yeah, honestly, I'll probably chalk it down to nerves. But I'll have to speak with the boys about what happened in that first game. And even the second game was a bit slow, but I think we definitely got whatever it was, the cobwebs or anything out, and I think by that 4th game we definitely showed what we're capable of. And if we play like 3 games versus Legacy tomorrow, in that like how we played that 4th game, I think it'll be a very good series. So I'm honestly super excited, and I love a challenge. So yeah.
And what are you looking out for coming up against Legacy? What do you feel like is going to be the biggest hurdle?
I think they have a lot more versatility when it comes to like their solo laners and their drafts. I think me going mid is obviously a little bit harder against Order because I find against PGG, Bai is going to just really let Harry scale and farm, but I think Tapoon is a bit stronger with that stuff probably. So we'll definitely have to come with a different game plan, and they're a scary team when they get a small lead. I just think we've got to draft to our strengths and our power, and like I said, like we've beaten them before this split. They're not invincible by any means, and yeah, it'll be a good series.
And obviously, this has been a bit of a different split, a bit of a different year for everyone. How are you guys coping, particularly being in Melbourne right now? Like, how is the team doing? How's the mental?
Honestly, like stage 4 lockdown is not the most enjoyable thing in the world, but we're sort of making do. I've turned into pretty much a premium slug, is what I like to call myself. But I've just thrown exercise.
Well, we noticed the Ugg boots.
Yeah, the Ugg boots actually have done pretty well. I don't know if I copped flack for them, but over here in Melbourne, it's like -5 degrees every night. So I've got to do something for it. But no, like we're sort of just doing what we can. We're obviously very isolated in the house together because we can't actually leave the house. So it's, in a way, it's bringing ourselves closer and more honest. And I think we just say it is what it is and we deal with it. But overall, Melbourne is a decent city. The coffee is not as good as Sydney, but it's quite good.
Good work. And finally, which one of your teammates are you just ready to throttle now that it's been a few weeks just trapped with them? It's got to be rare.
Like probably Ronan, yeah, rare. We have I'm honestly super close with Ronan, and we spend a lot of time together. But sometimes I get a little bit angry at him, and he knows. So we just sort of keep our relationship as good as we can. And the boys are honestly a pleasure.
And then
They're
occasionally
honestly a pleasure.
And then every now and then you just need to dig an Ugg boot into him and show him who's boss. Well, congratulations on the win, mate. A huge series for you guys, and obviously this is the split that Order are hoping that they can do it and finally take the prize. And it would be fantastic if you were on the team while that happens. So get some rest and good luck for tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
Thanks, bud. Talk soon. What a boy.
What a clown.
He's a class act.
Your
The 3
whole
clowns
team.
behind him are the real clowns.
What a group of clowns. Surely
Yeah.
they start the series 0-1 tomorrow. Just for that.
Yeah.
Potentially. I do want to like kind of shout out what he's been saying. Like probably people assume OPL just happens in Sydney, but we're obviously a Melbourne-based team. And I live I can throw a rock and hit the gaming house, but I can't go there at the moment because of stage 4 lockdown. And like Charlie, who's our other coach, Pinch, doesn't also live in the gaming house. So they're just 5 guys that live like by themselves in isolation during stage 4. As Swiper said, like gym and stuff like that was really important to the team for the mental health, and it has kind of just fallen off a cliff. So I do feel bad for the boys, especially given the fact that it's my choice to live in Melbourne. This is what I've subjected them to. But hopefully it is bringing them closer together. So shout out for Swiper for being a really great leader in that regard.
I think as well, and everyone here and watching would have had some taste of this, but just having the motivation when it comes to work and just like, particularly if you're doing like tons of practice, getting ready for these games and tons of prep and all that sort of thing, when you're doing that really self-motivated by yourself in a house with your teammates, like that is really commendable for all the teams, obviously, in the OPL, who have really taken the split on the chin. And I think from a viewer's perspective, for the most part, besides how the broadcast looks, it's pretty much as it's always been, and it's just these guys playing. But I do think it's right to say that all of these guys have put in a really solid effort to make sure that they can continue doing what they're doing. So a shout out to all the teams, and we hope you're all doing well, particularly the guys in Melbourne. Okay, let's take a look at the results from today. Is it a results-based day? Is that how we're rolling with this? I mean, we know the results. I could tell you off the top of my head. And if no graphic comes up, then I'm going to assume no. So instead, we'll look at a schedule for tomorrow. Let's look at a schedule for tomorrow. Can I get a schedule? Hey, there we go. So as we've spoken about, Legacy taking on Order tomorrow, and then next week it will be PGG versus the Chiefs. You then get the loser of Match C, so Legacy and Order taking on the winner of the lower bracket for PGG and the Chiefs, and then out of that you're going to take the 2 winners into the grand final in 2 weeks' time. So there is still a ton of action happening, and it is very exciting that will be continuing tomorrow. So we hope that you can join us tomorrow evening as well. A massive thank you to the crew and to the cast as well, and particularly Juves, thank you very much for coming on, mate. It's always exciting to have you during these big moments.
Thanks for having me, Nick Boy. I wouldn't have it any other way. I love the Oceanic Professional League, and I love you guys.
Of course, you wouldn't have it any other way. You're the person that's been added to the broadcast. Ask the other 4 Muppets whether they'd have it any other way.
See what I mean? I get sentimental for 1 minute, and I get shot down.
True. It's so true. You were like, when you opened your mouth and you go, I wouldn't have it any other way. Those two cracked up. Skimmy is sitting there thinking, is he serious or is he being sarcastic right now? I'm the only one that accepted you with an open and loving heart because I know the open and loving person that you are. So I'm happy that you're here. And you will be joining us again tomorrow. Skimmy.
Maybe I'll wait around, but...
Skimmy, fantastic work today. You are, as always, the real MVP of the OPL.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of games, a lot of excitement, a lot of hype, and I think the boys carried me, the analysts, as always, big Spawn and Rusty, bringing all the information to showcase what's happening. But we had some hype matches, right? 3-1 on the day. Didn't expect it to be those kind of score lines, but it really makes me excited for how these playoffs will play out.
Absolutely. And Spawn and Rusty, thank you very much for your tireless work during the double series that we had today. It's only one tomorrow, so it will be a shorter day, but that doesn't mean it's going to be any less exciting. So we hope that we will see you here, 4 p.m. AEST tomorrow afternoon. Until then, we are out. Rusty, actually, wait, before you cut away, don't you cut away. Oh, Rusty.
Yeah, do you want to say the same one?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you, buddy.
All right.
I'm gonna. Before you do, I will quickly say the names of our sponsors, which is EPOS, Macca's, and Neosurf. Thank you very much for everything that you do. And now we wait a couple of seconds because I feel like we really need their brands away from this outro. You are good to go.
Good night, Australia, and remember, wash your ass.
And that's a beautiful Hemo play onto multiple members. A shutdown all importantly onto Chippies. He gets himself a double kill.
Triple kills. Can we get a quadra? Yes, we can. It's Ray's doing what he does. The team fight king.
You can only use these ingredients, and you can only cook with this thing. Hey,
I'm excited.
It's like a fairy pooped in a cup. Big shout out to the little legends that we created. So we've got the Fury Horn there, and then this is the mystery egg the graphics operator was making instead of that last graphic.
Guys, I want Twitch chat to do it with me. Make sure your chair hits the ground like this, that's 4. And don't be afraid to go a little bit faster or a little bit slower. Just do what's comfortable, okay?
My long-term boyfriend and I broke up over a month ago. How do I start dating again? Rusty, you're lonely.
Finally, your ideal Valentine's Day date.
PC Bond, Duo Q, League of Legends.
Oh, very nice.
I think Bombers started them off quite well, but they just got outplayed on a micro level, and I am really good at this.
Send this to Frost Urine.
So who here wants a really mediocre painting of Gragas? It is a time for celebration, but it is also a time for mourning. Let's start off with a eulogy.
5 Drakes to the name, a Baron and everything else.
In a counter matchup.
That's the carbon response. That's the legacy win right there.
Is anyone wearing pants?
Oh, you're wearing pants? Some shorty boys. Look at that.
What has this become?
There's no AFL, there's no NRL, but there is always OPL. Come rain, hail or shine,